and 3.3 all in one lesson. These are on solving inequalities using addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So just a quick review here. Ignore these number lines. Remember, our inverse operation for addition would be subtraction. And our inverse operation for division would be multiplication. Okay, so these are just review terms from when we were solving linear equations, although now we will be using the same exact skills when we are solving our inequalities. Okay, so let's scroll down to a couple of examples. So for all of these examples, we will solve the inequality and then we will graph it on the number line. So we may need to solve below the number line as we don't have a ton of space. But for our first example here, we have x minus 15 is greater than negative 12. So our first step here would be to add 15 to both sides. Since initially we are subtracting, so we need to use the inverse operation. Okay, that would leave us with x is greater than positive 3. Okay, so now let's graph this on our number line. So let's plot our points. Start by plotting our point within our inequality 3, value above which would be 4, and a value below which could be 2. From here, let's go ahead and plot a point at 3. This point is going to be an open point since we just have a greater than symbol. Well, since our variable is on the left, we will shade the direction that the inequality is facing, which is to the right. So we will shade the positive direction or the side that is greater than 3, which is what our inequality reads. Our second example here, we have x plus 8 is less than 22. Remember, when you are adding, our inverse operation is to subtract. This will leave us with x is less than 14. So let's go ahead and plot our points. We have 14, the value above could be 15, and the value below could be 13. Right here, we have just a less than symbol. So let's plot an open point facing our equation is on the left. So, or our variable is on the left, sorry. So we will point the direction that our inequality is facing, which would be less than 14. So let's go ahead and use these same steps for our next couple of examples. For our third example here, we have negative 8 is less than or equal to x minus 4.7. So let's go ahead and add 4.7 to both sides. Inverse operation of subtracting. That gives us negative 8 plus 4.7, which gives us negative 3.3, which is less than or equal to x. From here, we could graph it like this, but we could also rewrite this so that our variable is on the left side. So if our variable is on the left side, we would have x is greater than or equal to negative 3.3. So let's go ahead and plot our points. We would have to have negative 3.3 within our graph. We could have one value below this, which would be negative 3.4. Remember, you can also just change the decimal place to indicate higher or lower. Of this value would be negative 3.2. Okay. You could also put negative 4.3 on the left side and negative 2.2 on the right side. It doesn't matter as long as your values have a similar scale and they are higher and lower than the point you're given. So now that our variable is on the left side, let's shade the direction that our inequality is facing. So we will need a closed point on negative 3.3 because of our equal to symbol, and we will shade to the right side. For our last example here, we have 3/5 is greater than or equal to positive 3/5 plus x. So let's go ahead and subtract 3/5 from both sides. Okay, 3/5 minus 3/5 obviously will just cancel out, leaving us with 0 is greater than or equal to x. All right, let's go ahead and rewrite this so our variable is on the left side, which would give us x is less than or equal to 0. Be super careful when rewriting so that your symbols are still facing the correct direction. So let's plot our points. We have 0, we have a value above which would be 1, and a value below which could be negative 1. Okay, since it's equal to, we will have to have a closed point at 0. And since we're on the left side, let's shade the direction that our inequality is pointing, which would be at the direction less than 0. All right, so that is how you solve an inequality using addition and subtraction. Each of these are one-step equations essentially, so they shouldn't be too difficult for you to solve.